Hello and welcome. I am the urban animist, and I am here to bring you a guide to the unknown and the unseen. So, today I am going to give more detail about the old man of the river, who I call Eafader, or River Father. Now, he is the strongest spirit in the entirety of the Concho River. He is the manifestation of the river itself. Okay, but I want to introduce you to my brother Ash, the ash tree that I made the wand out of. And the wand is in the video I posted yesterday, just so you know. This is my brother Ash. This is one of my favorite spots. And there's the river right there. Okay, I ever since I was really little, I've always talked to trees. I remember I used to hug trees because I didn't know how they were feeling and I didn't know if they needed some comfort. I don't know. But I do know now. I had no idea why I did it, and as I got a little bit older, kind of felt weird about it, but now, not so much. So, I'm just gonna get to a place where I can speak freely. Everybody's out at the park today. Well, the river walk. This is how beautiful it is. And there are different parts with different types of trees. There are a lot of different oaks. And this just adds to the magic of this place. Now, this is another part. Usually, where I do the videos is the oldest part. They call it the old park. And it was the first part of the river walk created. So, this part is a newer one, but still as beautiful. I didn't expect it would take me this long to find a spot. It didn't look like there were this many people out here, but that's how it goes, right? So, okay, now, the river father. From working with him and learning about him, I've learned quite a few things. I've learned what he can do, what his job is, and he has taught me a a great deal of things. So, Eafader, the Concho River is a tributary of the Colorado River. I've said this before. The Colorado River is the river that created the Grand Canyon. So that's kind of awesome. Now, the Concho River has run, has flowed for about 5 million years, they say. And how I really started working with him is I, when oh my gosh, I'm sorry. How I really started working with him was there was a time when I would just come and walk the river and I would just think. I would listen to music and I'd bring my dog and I would just think and just contemplate watching the river and just enjoying it. Well, because I've always been a psychic medium and I constantly think the river before I even really met the spirit that governs it, I would always think it. And that to me is animist mindset. I thank the river for the energy it gives and the life it gives to the people and the creatures around it. So, anyways, back to the story. I was walking the river one day and I saw him. I saw the spirit of the river and he came to me and told me, "Thank you. Thank you for honoring me." And I was kind of flabbergasted. So I just started talking to him every day. And the more I talked to him, the more he taught me, the stronger of a connection that grew between us. And so he is the spirit of the river. From what he's told me, he is an old god, an old Native American god, which the Native Americans that lived around here were nomadic. It was the Humano people. Now, the Humano people were very spiritual as well. As I said, they were nomadic. So, what they would do is they would travel up and down the river and find places to stay. Well, not places to stay, they'd pick the spot to stay. They fished the river. I believe that they would harvest the mussels and they made jewelry out of the pearls. So that's cool because the mussels in the Concho River are, we call them the Concho pearl clams, and they produce a beautiful pearl, light pink to a deep lavender. It's really awesome. So what he's told me is that his influence, the river's influence, governs pretty much everything around it. He is the controller of the energy and reality around the river. And this is just what he's told me. This is just personal gnosis. You know, he said that for about maybe 3 miles out, I think is what we talked about, his influence is the strongest. After that, it diminishes quite rapidly. So, what what that means to me is that it just shows a length of influence, and when I want to communicate with him, I literally can tell when I'm too far away or when I'm right in the right spot. And so that makes sense. One of the other things he's told me was that the reason he has control and influence over the reality of this place, of this ecosystem, is because the sky is reflected in the water. So a river holds the universe within it. I don't quite understand that, but that's okay. I don't have to understand it. This is just what he told me. I don't also have to accept it as complete fact for me, but I do know it. I have heard it and I realize what he's trying to say. He has the power to control situations around it. Now, when I did start working with him the first time, he thanked me. He thanked me for honoring him because it had been a long time since anybody had honored him, and I could feel the sadness. See, that's the thing. The gods or spirits, they don't need us to worship or honor them. They don't. But we give them strength. Knowing that humans honor them is very powerful. I don't know how to explain that, but they don't need us to survive. I do believe we need the gods and we need the spirits to survive. That we absolutely need them. That's just my opinion, though. So, okay, more what he can do. So, there is a primordial energy source within the river he's told me about, and he has allowed me to draw off of it and work with it. It is what I call a golden flame that resides inside the river, and it's very powerful energy, but it has been tampered with and manipulated over the years. So, what I have found and what he has told me is that even though people haven't honored him for a long time, there are people who have used and drained a lot of his power and strength. And I'm not going to get into that because I don't quite know really that or anything about that, but this is just what I'm being told. So I'm just sharing it with you. Okay. He gave me a familiar, and the familiar is a blue heron, and it's my most recent familiar. I asked him for it. He has helped me in times that I desperately needed somebody to help me when I thought there was no way. There was no way I was going to be able to be okay or accomplish anything. Um, oh, one of my favorite stories. I can't believe I forgot to talk about it. So just recently, on the what was it? Spring equinox, right? So he told me a couple weeks before that he needed my help and that the spirits of the river needed my help. And curiously, I asked, okay, well, what's going on? And he told me that he is going through a cycle, a death cycle, and that right after he will be reborn, but that he is losing strength and he is losing power and that he was about to die. So I asked more questions. Well, what I discovered was it's a 20-year cycle, and at the end of the 20 years, his strength diminishes until he dies. Now, on the day he dies, he will come back to life, and die. It's all just weird wording, sorry. But he will come back to life, but it will take him a little bit to come back to full strength. Actually, probably a couple years or a year. I can't quite remember. But what he needed from me was he needed help. He needed a song. And so I wrote him a song. Hymn for Eafeder, Beardling Maidragasend, Turtle Mother, Heron Mother, and the Queen of Lilies. Now, I didn't I didn't write the song to incorporate them, but the song was for them. It was mainly just to incorporate Eafeder, Old Man. And the reason for that was he asked me. He said he was the one that needs it. Everything else in the river would die with him, but as long as he came back, so would everything else. So I was terrified for 2 weeks. Not even joking. It made me extremely anxious because I was scared of what if I couldn't help him, which he really didn't need my help, but he wanted it. So I finally just buckled down and just told myself it would be all right, that there's a reason he asked me to do this. And so when the day came, it was early in the morning. I came to the shore of the river and I sang 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 for a couple of hours. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. It was the most beautiful feeling and it was phenomenal. So that's the thing. Now I've heard of people. There was this I believe it was Maori. I can't remember. There was this indigenous person who would go around activating rivers. And by activating rivers, they would go and they would say, Brother River, come back to life. And they would do that throughout the entire country. I think this was in New Zealand. That's why I say Maori, but I just can't quite remember. So please don't quote me, but he did this to reactivate and bring the rivers back to awareness. Now, that is crazy because in New Zealand, the native populations believe that the mountains are their brothers and are their cousins or their families or something like that. Like, dude, this is this is animism. When your brother tree speaks to you and gives you gifts of itself to make powerful tools, when your friend the river gives you strength and supports you and literally gives you the energy to deal with any problem, but also reveres you just as much as you revere it. That is animism. Now, the spirits of nature and place will not always like you. They won't. And I have a story for that too. That's for another day. And it'll be my experience with the wolf tree. But they don't always like you. They don't always care for humans. Humans have made a lot of enemies. But the spirits that do, they will take care of you and they will help you get through anything as long as you keep your end of the bargain, your end of the connection. If the part of you that, if you keep honoring the spirit will keep honoring you and helping you. That's it. It's kind of like a law of equivalent exchange, for lack of a better term. But it's true. Animism is human nature and our true reality. Animism is our true worldview. Remember this. Remember this. Animism is our true worldview. That's why, as kids, we talk to our stuffed animals and dolls. That's why we give inanimate objects names, because it's so ingrained in us that we are conditioned to not see the world this way, but we still have underlying instincts to name things and to talk to inanimate objects. Why? Because animism is our true worldview and the truth of reality. And that's just it. So, this has been a long video, and I've kind of rambled. I hope that I got my point across, and I hope that I've informed you some about AFA, the Concho. I also hope that I have illuminated some part of the unknown and the unseen for you here today. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me. Follow me on Facebook at The Urban Animist or on Twitter at The Urban Animist. I also have a Telegram channel, and it is The True Urban Animist. So please, don't hesitate to message or call me. Don't hesitate to message me and ask me anything. And if you have any questions or want me to do a video about a specific thing, tell me and I'll do it. I want to know how y'all feel. I want to see and hear your thoughts so we can compare and we can understand reality. But I digress. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And again, I hope I have illuminated some part of the unknown and the unseen for you here today. I'm the Urban Animist, and I'll see you later.